Welcome to Sprinkle with Hope podcast with your host, Jason. And Shane and I are so excited. We're side by side. It doesn't happen a lot. So we're so happy to be together and talking to you today. So what we're going to start, Shane and I came up with our cool acronym, HOPE. And we are going to do what we're kind of claiming is the HOPE series. And so we're going to talk about each of those and a few other items. So we're going to, talk about each letter in our acronym, what they mean to us, and we're going to call it the HOPE series. So American author Helen Keller said, "The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart." And I loved that. I shared it with Shane, and it is, I believe it, because I truly think that as we have heart and we go into our heart, there we can find hope. So let me ask this question. What does it mean to have heart, and how does that relate to hope? And so Shane and I are going to kind of talk about that today. The heart is one of the energy centers of the body. If you are into yoga, the heart chakra is the very center of the body, right here in the sternum area. And so that's kind of where it resides. The common theme throughout all religions and beliefs is that the heart is centered around compassion and love. And Shane and I have talked a lot about compassion and love. We have a podcast recording on compassion, so if you haven't listened to it, please take a listen. I thought that was a really, really good episode. So to have heart means to take care of yourself and others through compassion and love. And so we're going to expound on that a little bit today. We have talked, we've talked about compassion. We love compassion. We love love. That kind of sounds weird, but it is true. Like that, when we get ourselves into that compassion and love, really we find the center of our heart and what our heart believes and what it tells us to be true. So having heart is the true essence of love. Love really needs to start from within yourself and radiate outwards to others. Knowing that love is an emotion, because we've talked about that too, or a feeling, this would be the energy of the body instead of the mind, right? So we're talking about the energy of the body and how that's released. And I truly think that as you start to understand what love is and feel it, that's why it's so hard to talk about. When we've asked people what does love mean to them, we've gotten so many different answers and so many different things. And I think you could all, if I was to ask you that question, what does love mean to you? I would get a probably different answer than, I would from anybody else I asked. So I think that's what we're talking about is love and how that, what it means to us and how we can get more of it.
We really are excited about this HOPE series. We truly believe hope is very important, and so we're excited to expound on HOPE, the acronym, and dive a little bit deeper. Today we're talking about heart, and I believe that a good heart leads to positive emotions, which could be optimism, gratitude, love, hope even. I believe when you have those positive emotions and your heart is good, that's going to lead to better health. It just is. Jason touched on it a little bit, and you can use yoga and other things to improve your health. But I also believe that if you can control your emotions and have those emotions be positive most of the time, I'm not saying you can't experience negative emotions, which could be anger and frustration, those things. That is important to also, you have to feel those emotions. But I believe if you focus more on the positive emotions, that you're reaching out toward other people, that your health is going to improve. It just is. I believe that's why I am pretty healthy, that I focus on the hope that I have, the joy in life, looking forward to things. I think we also have to be grateful for people and for our health and our emotions and all of those things. The way I show gratitude is by looking out from myself to others. I can serve them. I can ask them, do you need anything from me? Just those all around things. My family and I just got back from Disney World. And yesterday our daughter kind of broke down and said, I miss Disney World and I want to go back. And we said, that's great. The reason you like that is because we were all focused on each other and not just us. So we were showing gratitude by being together all the time. And we kind of forgot about ourselves and our needs for a moment. And we just said, what do you guys want? And what do you need? And that's what I'm saying is in order to be grateful, we have to sometimes forget ourselves and look out by serving other people and doing those things. And I think if we do these things, our heart's going to improve and our health is going to improve and we're going to have more hope for the future. I also would encourage us to be in the present moment. So don't get too caught up in the future. Of course, we can look to the future, but don't get too caught up in that. Be present in the now, which is if you feel like maybe you're having a rough day, maybe it's a great time to look outside yourself and serve someone else. We always are happy when we serve other people, no matter what. We just are. So be present, show gratitude, and I believe if you have positive emotions, optimism, gratitude, love, hope, those things, that your health is going to improve and your heart is going to improve.
I love that because I think it goes back to what we've talked about, which is, bringing in every facet of your life to help you have more hope and grow. And I believe that those things are able to help us. I want to talk a little bit about the human will and drive and how that comes into play with heart. Because there's also that side too, right? Like those that know me know I love football, and Shane and I love sports, and we love going to sporting events. And so, when you're in a football game or something, or you hear somebody talk about it, you say, "Oh man, that guy's got heart. He goes after it. He strives really hard." And I think that's the other side of heart too, because you can have compassion and love, and then you have also this will and this human will to want to drive yourself forward towards whatever goals it is that you have that you want to accomplish. Thus, let me give you an example. So for instance, in my life, I love my family, I love my wife, I love my children. And so I work really hard to provide for them the things that they need. And so I have a job and I work hard for them so that they can have the things that they want because I love them. So, that's why we do the things that we do, is because that human will drives us to want to do things for the people we love. So you can kind of see a little connection there. So, creating an environment where you and your children can not only survive, but thrive is really important. And I'm not sure that we've talked about survive and thrive. I know we've kind of mentioned it here and there, but kind of what's that difference? And so the human will is what can help you to run another mile or try a little harder. So how does having heart, what does that mean? So having heart is the motivation to keep going. Dave Ayres, a strength and conditioning coach, said this: human will is what gets us to start a diet or get into the gym. Heart is what gets us to stay there. And so I think that's like a really good example. So we have this human will or this drive to want to do things, but then having heart keeps us in that moment, keeps us in that particular time, helps us to continue to move forward. I have one more quote, and it's from an unknown source, but it says this, and I really like this. It said, always help someone. You might be the only one that does. And I think that kind of goes back to what Shane was saying, is serving others, helping others, serving the people that you love the most will help bring that heart and love and compassion to others and not just to yourself. It is important to take care of yourself. I totally agree. But as you learn to get that heart and to help and serve others, you're also going to grow with more hope, more heart, more love, and compassion.
I love that quote, that if we help somebody, we might be the only one. That could possibly be true. And so there's never a wrong time to serve others and help others. We talked a little bit about in the introduction to HOPE, the acronym, heart being pure intentions. And I think when I say that, we're meaning be real, be genuine, be authentic, but most important, be you, be who you are. You don't be anybody else, be you. And that is enough. That's exactly what you should be doing. Don't compare yourself to others, because that often we beat ourselves up when we're comparing ourselves to others. That's not being who we are. And be who you are and be happy about it. Don't think, well, I'm not like Jason, and so maybe I'm not good enough. No, that's not true. That's not true in any case. Be who you are, be happy about that, and do things for a reason. Sometimes we often sit back and we wait for things to happen to us. We're suggesting, don't do that. Don't sit back and wait for things to happen. Go out and make things happen for you. So again, be real, be genuine, be authentic, but most important, be who you are. Be kind to yourself. Say your daily affirmations if that's what you want to do. I love saying those now that we talked about those. Mine is all I need with it is within me right now. I love that because it allows me to see the power that I have in myself at any moment. Everything I need is within me. So that allows me to be kind to myself and be who I am, because I see the power that I have. I don't need power from anybody else. I have it all within me. So if you say your daily affirmations, that's another way of being kind to yourself. And again, if I know this sounds weird, but I believe if you're serving others, you're being kind to yourself, because you're taking care of you and your heart, and you're also helping others, but I believe that you're helping yourself. So
I love that. And I love affirmations as well. You know, I have a couple different ones, but the one I kind of lean towards is I have worth. I am worthy of love and compassion. Those are some of the ones that I kind of tend to lean towards. So, and you can kind of see, you know, it's up to you what those affirmations look like. But do be kind to yourself. You know, we spend the most time with ourselves. We should also be kind to ourselves, right? Like if you're going to spend time with a person the most, why would you want to hurt them? You don't want to hurt your loved ones. So why would you hurt yourself? So I love that you talked about that. I want to kind of talk about, how does having heart relate to hope? So let's talk about that for just a minute. When you show others the true meaning of having heart, this is hoping for a better future. And we've talked about hope, obviously, a lot. But Shane and I believe to our very core that is living. That's life. That's, hoping for a better future. Absolutely, we want to. We do want to be in the now, but we also want to hope, okay, I'm going to hope that today's going to be a better day than yesterday. Right? And so I'm going to strive as hard as I can to do everything in my power, to take action, to do the things that I say I'm going to do, all these things, right? And that is having that heart and bringing hope into it. I think courage is also an integral part of heart and having hope. I think often we mistake or think that having courage is the absence of fear and vulnerability, and that is absolutely not the case. Right? I know a lot of people who have courage and they are terrified, absolutely terrified in that moment, but they don't let the fear and vulnerability stop them from continuing forward. So just something to think about. I think courage is telling fear and vulnerability to come along with you, not go away, but come with us and let's work through this thing. We've talked about fear. We've talked about that it's something that we kind of tend to create in our own mind, and that we it's kind of this made up thing, and that fear doesn't really exist. So that's kind of up to you to interpret whether that's true or not. But um, in relation to hope, it is knowing that allowing yourself to get past your fears and vulnerability will happen because you have seen other people do that, right? You've seen them push through that. So if they can do it, why can't you? I think, I look up to some of these other motivational speakers and things like that, Tony Robbins and Henry Amar and people like that. Do you think they have never had fear? I would tend to disagree, that they have had fears, and they probably still do have some fears. Every day they probably have something that comes to their mind. Now, whether they attach to that and let it control their life is probably a different story. But I think that they just have learned how to push through that a little easier. And so I see them. I see that they can do it. Why can't I? What makes them so much different than me? Nothing. They're a human being. So they were created just the same way that I was. So why can't I accomplish the thing that they've accomplished? So this also doesn't mean facing the most challenging thing head on and forgetting the rest. No, it means face what you can face that day. What I mean by that is, let's say that you're struggling with a particular issue and it is just too hard to overcome. Well, maybe you take a step back and look at that thing and maybe dissect it a little bit and accomplish one thing that will get you closer to that accomplishment, that goal, that thing, and having that heart and the hope for that thing to be accomplished. I think that's a good thing to do, a good practice to do. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm talking about a little bit today.
I wanted to introduce something some of you may have heard it, but I thought it was fitting for talking about heart and the way that we can focus on our heart, but also focus on others. It's called Ubuntu. And Ubuntu was introduced thousands of years ago in Africa. They live by it still today. The meaning of Ubuntu is I am because we are. So there's a story of a guy that was in Africa and he wanted to give kids this fruit. And so he put this fruit basket by a tree and he said, okay, you guys can run to the tree and the first child to get there can have all the fruit. And he sat and watched them, and he watched all of the kids lock arms and walk simultaneously and got to the tree at exactly the same time. They sat down, they were eating the fruit, and he went over and asked the kids, why did you do that? I told you that the first child to get there could have all the fruit. And they said Ubuntu, which is I am because we are. And the meaning behind that is they all celebrated the fruit at the same time because they all realized, wait, if we all get there at the same time, we can all enjoy the fruit instead of one person getting there and we're just sitting there watching this one child eat the fruit. We are because I am because we all are. And I just thought it was fitting to share that little story about Ubuntu because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about looking outside of ourselves and helping the person that's right next to us. We can lock arms with them. We can walk with them because that helps our heart. It helps their heart. It might help us give more hope and those things. And so I just thought it was fitting to share that because I just love I am because we are. So hopefully we can think about that, as we're serving other people, that we can do it with other people. It doesn't just have to be us, but maybe remember that story when you're serving others and you can all do it together and then you become a stronger team. And in turn, I think your heart is better, their heart is better. You might have more hope and love for the future.
I love that you brought that up, and I love this concept of Ubuntu. And kind of as you were talking about it, it kind of brought something to my mind, and I want to share it. And that is, the last 7 months, Shane and I have spent a lot more time together. We've talked a lot more together. And we have literally locked arms. And I believe that this Ubuntu is, Shane is making me better. And I am, because we are, right? And so like it kind of brought that to my attention. And as you were kind of talking about it, Shane, it made me think of that, like where we have we come from. And we used to spend a fair amount of time together before this, but now we're spending a lot more time together. And I think we are helping each other in this Ubuntu, so you call it,
Yeah.
So I just want to close with kind of this, and Shane's got some last thoughts as well. But do you ever feel like you're playing small because you don't think that you have enough heart? So ask yourself that question, and maybe some of you have heard that saying, playing small, and what does that mean? And that means that you're holding yourself back from reaching your fullest potential. And Shane and I truly believe that if you could see the potential in yourself, or the potential that Shane and I see in you, you would never let anything hold you back. And so I think that, don't play small. Don't let things control you. This has definitely been, at certain times in my life, caused me to not do the thing that I wanted to do or wanted to accomplish, because I was playing small. So I've mentioned before about flying helicopters. I mentioned me walking away from that, right? And that did take some heart to walk away from that. So flying helicopters, sometimes we refer to them as a flying death trap. And so that's kind of the funny saying in helicopters, is that a helicopter is a flying death trap. So why did I bring this up? When I first started learning how to fly helicopters, it was terrifying. Here you are in this helicopter, and in a split second, it could literally take your life. I mean, it really was like, I had, my nerves were fried almost every day when I was learning how to fly helicopters. And it got frustrating at times. But here's where the heart came in. I never gave up. I continued every day to get better, to learn more about the systems and learn more about making small adjustments with the cyclic that we call in the center of the helicopter, that controls kind of our forward aft motion, left to right. As you learn to use these super tiny movements, and me spending a lot of time being a flight instructor, we would say the diameter of a dime. So imagine that size. That's the size of movement that a helicopter pilot makes when he's flying around. That's how tiny of a movement. And I want to relate that back to what we've talked about, which is, kind of taking action and having heart and compassion and hope and love for others, in that it only takes a tiny little thing, tiny little movement to make a huge difference. So I wanted to kind of mention that, and also talking about when Shane and I started this podcast, we didn't know if one person would listen or 1,000 people would listen. And that didn't really even matter. And it still doesn't to this day. We took the action. We had the heart to move forward, even knowing that this could be a complete flop and nobody would ever listen to it. And everybody would say, you guys are silly and for even trying, right? Think about this, Shane. You and I have interviewed 28 to date individuals, 28 different people. That's amazing. We've talked to 28 different stories. We've heard all different kinds of things. We've had different episodes and things like that. So I want you guys to think about that as we're kind of closing out this having heart, what that means. I have one last quote that I want to share with you guys. And it's Robert G. Allen, an American motivational speaker. He said, "A powerful combination to ensure success is having the vision of an eagle and the heart of a lion." And so I just want you to think about that quote as we are talking about heart and seeing what success looks like to you.
I'm really glad you brought up the dime thing because I didn't know about that, as far as the helicopter goes. But my thought was simply this, as you were talking about the podcast, we didn't have everything planned out. We just took action, and we took that little dime and we did something. We did a small action, and that then just kept going. You listening to this can do the exact same thing. You can listen to this podcast and think, what can I do to improve my heart right now? There's something simple and small that each one of you can do. I truly believe that. Oscar Hammerstein II, an American lyricist and theatrical producer who's done a lot of really big things in America, he says this: walk on. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. And so when we're talking about hope and tying in heart to that, to the H, we honestly believe that if you do something, if you take action and do something simple today and do that every day, that you're going to improve your heart, your hope, your love, your compassion towards other people, your gratitude for life. You're going to see a change in life. And we honestly believe that if you do something, if you focus on that little dime and do something, that your life will improve.